really think with me here, okay? I want you to take a second and understand that you can take control of your life. You can absolutely change it. You can change your health outcomes. You can change how you feel every single day in your body. You can change emotionally how you connect with the world. You can change the medicines that are in your cabinet. You can change the way you live your life every single day, and it does not cost you a dime. Not a dime. It just, you have to undertake the task of changing your habits, changing the stuff you put in your face hole. That's it. You can change your life. I changed mine. That's why I'm here. Show you how to do it. Hey guys, welcome. My name is Karen and this is Southern Ketovore. I just realized that it has been a year since I put out my first video on YouTube. So I decided my channel has grown so tremendously in this past year, and especially in the last couple of months. I've gotten so many new subscribers, and I thank each and every one of you for joining me. I just feel like the time has come to reintroduce myself, just to kind of give you an idea of who I am, what I've experienced, what my journey has been like so far, and also what the purpose of this channel is. So if you are interested, then stay tuned, because that's what we're going to talk about here today. So again, my name is Karen. I am 41 years old and I live in the low country of South Carolina. You will probably hear me complain a lot about the weather and the bugs and the pollen, because that's pretty much life here. I am a busy mom. My husband and I both work in retail. We have 2 teenage kids. So, welcome. Basically, I'm going to kind of give you an idea first about where this whole thing started, and then I'll also tell you kind of what my current perspective is as far as my health and my way of eating. So this all started a very, very long time ago, like a long time ago, but I'm going to rewind only to July of 2017, which is when I first heard about a ketogenic diet. Up until that point, I had had a few minor diagnoses, I guess you could say. When I was in my late teens, I was diagnosed with reactive hypoglycemia. So I would have these really intense fatigue spells after any kind of carby meals. Even though I had 2 diabetic parents, my doctor was just like, oh, you know, this is just normal. It's a normal part of your life now. And did not give me any nutrition advice in an effort to combat that reactive hypoglycemia. After that, when I was pregnant with my daughter in 2008, I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes. And so, of course, during that time, luckily I had a doctor that did give me a little bit more information. So in that time, I decided to kind of slow down really just on junk food. I still ate bread and everything, but I did slow down on some of the legitimate junk that I was consuming during that time. However, busy mom, newborn baby, I went right back to my normal stuff afterwards, during which time I was pre-diabetic. Fast forward to 2017, at that point almost 36 years old, and in complete misery. All right, so that's where we're starting. Up to that point, my diagnosis was pre-diabetes. So, chapter 2, July 2017, when things fell apart. Okay, wait, rewind. There was one other thing that I kind of left out that I should have included prior to my 2017 beginning of my keto journey. When I was 29 years old, this was however many years ago that was, 12. I was at work one day and felt a unusual stinging, burning pain in my lower leg, and boom, I had my first superficial blood clot in my leg, which went into lots of Doppler ultrasounds and lots of blood work for me to find that I am super lucky. And I have a genetic blood clotting disorder. This is nothing that I can get rid of. It's just that I have sticky blood. So I have a homozygous factor V Leiden disorder, so I am more prone to developing blood clots. Luckily, at this point, I have only experienced superficial clots, typically in my lower legs, and then also in my fingers, which actually I had one a few days ago in my index finger. But because of that, since they have been superficial, I am not on any sort of lifelong thinners or anything like that in order to thin my blood. That's something that they are not interested in doing unless I've experienced something that is more life-threatening. However, at the urging of my hematologist, I do take one baby aspirin a day, just to kind of help combat that. And that is one of the factors that goes into why I started changing my diet in the first place. But I figured I needed to kind of rewind and include that because that was technically a diagnosis. Otherwise, at this point, blank slate going into 2017. Okay, so now here we are. It is July 2017, and at this point, my husband and I we owned and operated a craft beer bar here in the Charleston area. That was awesome and so much fun. However, anyone who is familiar with the industry knows that craft beer is super carby, and it's just like calories and carbs and just sugar. In addition, we had tons of really awesome food vendors and food trucks that would come and set up at our place that loved to feed us. And of course, that's not exactly health food. So it was lots of sandwiches and ramen bowls and tacos and burritos and pizza and all the things. And it was all so delicious. So in 2017, I found myself kind of at my highest weight. I am 5'6", and I shrunk. I used to be almost 5'7". But 5'6", I was 219 pounds. And I was absolutely miserable. Day to day, miserable. I mean, emotionally, I absolutely had some major self-esteem issues, and I was extremely self-conscious. Physically, I just felt ashamed of my body very regularly, like just would break down to the point where it caused problems with intimacy with my husband because I was just so self-conscious about my body. It caused problems where I wasn't experiencing life. I didn't want to go to the beach. I didn't want to go to the water park with my kids. And so just physically, my appearance affected me so much emotionally that it took some of my life away. The way that I physically felt was even worse. I was always tired. I never felt rested, no matter how much I slept. When I did sleep, I snored. I experienced sleep paralysis regularly, usually several times a month, which sleep paralysis is a miserable beast. In addition, during the day, I took a nap every single day. I also sometimes, I would have to go and sit in the car line at the school to pick up my daughter when she was in elementary school. And when I would go, I would get there early enough that I would have to park in the car line, and I would have like 25 minutes, and I would set an alarm to take a nap in the car. just always tired. And that alone, all of that fatigue, it made me cranky. I didn't want to do anything with anybody. And so that was a big problem. In addition, at that point, I was taking omeprazole daily, and I had car Tums and house Tums and work Tums because I had such horrendous heartburn all of the time. I was just constantly chewing up Tums to manage my heartburn, and sometimes it would be so bad I would be on the verge of tears. Other than heartburn, I never had any digestive issues. So I am lucky in that sense that all, at the time seemed very normal other than the heartburn. I had bad seasonal allergies, which I still sort of do. But I would typically have 3 to 4 sinus infections a year, mostly from my allergies, just because everything would get so impacted that I would end up with either a sinus infection or like a bronchitis, turned into bronchitis just from my allergies. So I was constantly on antibiotics for that kind of stuff. I had gout in my right big toe almost constantly. It's like as soon as it would go away, I'd have a week or two before it would come back. And so that was, it luckily was always in that one area, but it was definitely a miserable, very painful feeling, and it made being on my feet at work and everything even more difficult. Aside from gout and heartburn, I had bad headaches all of the time. It was constantly, I remember joking around when I turned 30 and it was like, happy 30th birthday. I hope you like ibuprofen, because I was taking ibuprofen every day, like morning, afternoon, and night. Just ibuprofen, just all the time for sciatic pain, my gout pain, like everything, constantly ibuprofen. And it's amazing, my liver is still intact from all of the ibuprofen and the Tylenol and the Excedrin that I took during that time just to try and feel relatively okay. And at the time, I was pretty blissfully unaware of what my blood sugar was actually doing. I was still experiencing those same reactive hypoglycemic kind of moments where I would be fine and then I would, just hit this low where I could barely keep my eyes open and I was slurring my words because I was so exhausted very suddenly. And I didn't really have any idea. The only times that I had gone and had blood work was they would just do a fasting glucose, and the highest it ever was in a fasting glucose for those tests, for you fast 12 to 14 hours, the highest it ever was 106. So the doctor was never concerned. I started feeling worse and worse with these energy fluctuations. And so I decided to eventually invest in a blood sugar monitor, just a regular glucose monitor that I could use at home, and kept it in the box for a while. So one day, this was months that it sat there. Finally, one day, I was like, you know what, I'm going to start checking my blood sugar in the morning so that I can prove my mom wrong that I'm not going to become diabetic, right? And yeah, I was wrong. My fasting blood sugars were always in like the 140s. Granted, there are people who their fasting sugars are way worse, and I am not minimizing that by any means. But I was definitely type 2 diabetic. My fasting sugars would be 140, 146, 148. And then after meals, I started here and there, I would check it, and I would be in the 250, close to 300. And it never returned to normal after 2 hours. So after a couple of weeks of checking my blood sugars, I decided that I was going to go Whole30. A buddy of mine had done it, and he had lost a little bit of weight, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go Whole30. And so I was sitting at work, at a craft beer bar, and I'm drinking my bottle of water, and I'm like eating mini cucumbers. And one of our patrons, this guy Brian, who he does subscribe to the channel, so I'm sure that he'll probably see this. But my buddy Brian said, hey, I don't want to be offensive, but let me tell you about what I do. And he had been following a ketogenic diet in order to get some of his health markers under control. So he sent me the link to the Diet Doctor website, and I ignored it. And I kept doing Whole30 for a good couple of weeks. I did not really listen to him, and I didn't even open the link and read the website. So about 2 weeks later, I asked him again about it when he was at the bar, and he said that, my diabetes would probably reverse, and I could definitely get my sugars under control. And that statement was enough to make me decide to go for it. You could maybe get your diabetes under control. You might even reverse it. I mean, how can you ignore a statement that intense and with that much possibility, right? It's hard. It's hard to just ignore something like that. So here I am. I was floored by what he said, and I decided, okay, I'll open the link. I'll read it. I'll do the things, right? And so I opened the Diet Doctor website, and he had sent me, back then, 2017, that website has gotten huge. Still the first thing that I recommend to people. But it basically was just kind of a rundown of a ketogenic diet and what it does to your body, metabolically, what it's doing. And then it included the part that he sent me included the visual guides, where it was just charts of food with the number of carbs, and these are green, like these get the green light, eat lots of these are yellow, so maybe here and there. These are red, like full stop, don't touch croissants and donuts and stuff, right? And it seemed scary, and it seemed like it was going to be hard, and for the first couple of weeks it was, because absolutely nothing in my house was edible. I went from a diet of, guys, everything was processed. Everything was absolutely processed and just garbage. I did not eat any fresh food. I did not buy any kind of fresh produce. The closest thing to a vegetable that this house ever saw were canned green beans, which I still love, but that was it. Otherwise, it was like instant mashed potatoes and stovetop stuffing and oatmeal and grits and lots of pre-cooked, pre-breaded chicken and meats. And I ate so much junk. Like I probably kept like Post and General Mills in business with the amount of cereal and Pop-Tarts I ate. I ate garbage. And and my coffee. You guys know how I am with coffee. Back then, I bought French vanilla coffee mate, and I swear I put like a quarter cup of creamer in every cup of coffee that I drank. So it was a complete 180, what I had to do to my diet, what I could eat, what I couldn't eat. And at first it was absolutely terrifying, and it took a lot of willpower and discipline. And that was when I faced the challenge of fighting myself and my old habits to try to get my life back. So that's what happened in 2017. So now we can fast forward to where we are now. Once I implemented a ketogenic diet, which when I implemented it in 2017, please keep in mind at that time there were no products. So this was just whole foods keto. I did count net carbs. In the beginning, I kept it. I think in the beginning I did about 30 net carbs a day, but all of my carbs were coming from vegetables and berries and some nuts. But there weren't bars or anything like that. So it was all single ingredient foods that I was having. And in the first 2 weeks, I dropped 15 pounds in the first 2 weeks. And I remember, like a week in, just all of a sudden I was just like, I want to die. Like, I felt miserable, which was the, at the time, pre-electrolytes and everything. I was definitely suffering from major sugar withdrawals and the keto flu. And then it was like overnight something happened, and I woke up the next day and it was like my old bones were replaced with new bones, and I felt bulletproof. And I hit the ground running, and it was just, I felt so good. So good. And it became easier and easier. I had a lot of repetition in my diet, just to keep it simple, where I would eat kind of the same thing over and over again, but that was fine, because I felt so good that it was okay. It was, I could deal with the simplicity and the repetition of just eating the same thing over and over, as long as I was feeling good, right? So like, I just kept feeling good. So here we are. I'd been keto maybe a month. My blood sugars, my fasting sugars returned to normal range. No longer diabetic range for my fasting blood sugars. Because I was not eating any refined carbohydrates, my blood sugar did not spike. Even, with my meals, with the handful of carbs that I did have, we were looking at like 110, 120 tops, as far as my spike after having meals. So my blood sugar was very well regulated. I had this boundless energy from being in a ketogenic state. I started sleeping well, and as soon as I started dropping the weight, my snoring stopped, and I was able to get a better, more restful night's sleep. I have never, since July of 2017, I have not had a single sleep paralysis episode. That alone is worth it. That alone, if you know what it is, you understand that alone is worth it. We are talking about 6 years almost of none of those. And in addition to that, my heartburn went away. That was within a few days that my heartburn stopped. I was able to establish some things, where even now, like, there are a couple of certain foods, like any legumes, like peanuts or peanut butter or nut butters in general, will cause me heartburn. But otherwise, I do not experience any heartburn anymore unless I have something that is off plan, and that is my very rude reminder that you don't do that. Yeah, my heartburn was gone, and my gout disappeared, and I just started feeling amazing, and I felt like I got my life back. I had this, guys, with the energy, I got back my life. I was able to experience my children growing up. I was able to reconnect with my husband and start spending more quality time with him, and feeling better about myself, and really being able to emotionally connect so much better than when I was feeling so sick and feeling so self-conscious. I became this so much of a better person, or version of myself, than I thought I was capable of. I thought that it was just downhill from there. And I absolutely got my life back. And it's insane, because I don't know where I'd be right now if I hadn't done this. I really don't. I mean, at this point, my type 2 diabetes is completely reversed. I don't experience any of my old ailments unless I go off plan and I have something that I am not supposed to have, which is obviously an indicator that it's not something that serves me. And I'm not 100% at my goal yet, because I've messed up along the way, and we all do. So I still have a ways to go, and obviously the closer you get to your goal, the harder it is. But I have about 25 pounds that I'd like to go to get to my weight loss goal. But as far as like life goals, man, I've crushed it. Like, I absolutely took control and got my life back. And that is huge. And I can't say it enough. You have a certain experience for so much of your life, and then things can just change in an instant if you just hear about it or know about it from the right person, or from, if it comes up in the right conversation. Like, you can absolutely change your life. It's insane to me because it's so simple. It doesn't cost you a dime. So, here we are. Life changed. We are currently March 2023. The reintroduction based on what I've experienced in my life, okay, as far as my health. And now we're here. I'm 41 years old, living the dream, right? Essentially, I have experimented a lot over the years with my version of a ketogenic diet. I've gone from whole food strict keto to kind of dirty keto, to falling completely off the wagon and setting it on fire a couple of times. Remember the whole pandemic thing. I've gone carnivore. I've done some carnivore challenges and BBBE challenges and things like that. And back to strict keto and kind of all over the place. Now I fall kind of in this little marriage between a very strict whole foods ketogenic diet and ketovore, which is kind of a hybrid of keto and carnivore. But essentially I have some days that are fully carnivore where I just eat muscle meat and eggs. But more often than not, I do have a little bit of veg or a little bit of berries in with my diet. So I have certain vegetables that don't make me feel bad, and I have those, pretty regularly mixed into my diet. A couple of berries, and I do use some sauces and things, so like a couple of different salad dressings and hot sauces that I'll use here and there. But otherwise, like, that's pretty much it, and lots of coffee. But that's pretty much it. And it's very simple to do it at this point because I've have enough experience that it's simple. But typically on a day-to-day basis, I'm anywhere from 0 to 10 grams of total carbs a day for the most part. Sometimes I will cheat on my ketovore sort of lifestyle with keto. And that's okay too. I am a firm believer that really anything on the low carb spectrum is awesome. So whether you are low carb or Atkins or keto or ketovore or carnivore, I think that all of them are really healthy ways to control your weight and get control over your health. Some people, each of us has to kind of find on that dial where things work best for us. But for me, this is kind of where I have settled in and feel comfortable. So yeah, that's what I do on the regular. I still have, like I mentioned, I still have some goals. I still want to do some challenges here and there to, push myself to do some different things and make it a little bit harder sometimes. But that's about it. I mean, this is my plan indefinitely. Like, for the rest of my life, this is how I intend to eat because this is what brought me back. I was dying faster than I should have been. I was absolutely deteriorating, and I was so young. And guys, listen, for real, if you are considering a low carb diet, whether it is keto, ketovore, carnivore, however you want to jump in, take a chance and do it. okay? Just take a chance to do it. I'm telling you, even 30 days, give yourself 30 days, commit to it at least 30 days, and your life will be drastically different. I'm speaking from experience. Night and day, guys. So, welcome. Thanks for listening to all of my babbling, because I know I've babbled a lot. But I also knew that this was going to be a longer video, and I wanted to be sure that I touched on everything. And so that's the story. And welcome. The reason that I have this channel is to share what I've done to improve my life, in hopes that maybe a little bit of it will help you, and maybe a little bit of it will encourage you or make you see that it isn't that difficult. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be fancy. You don't need to buy supplements and products or hire coaches or anything like that in order to reclaim your health. That's why I'm here. Practical, simple, normal advice and experience, and I just want to share it with you. That's it. That's the thing. It is a reward to me when people comment or tell me that something has clicked and changed for them. That is the best gift ever. Best gift ever. So that is all. I'm going to wrap it up because I've rambled forever and ever. But thank you so much for tuning in and listening to me babble. If you enjoyed it, and if you want to stick around and learn more, please subscribe. I'd love to have you as part of my YouTube family. And I'm always in the comments I try to reply. I'm not always great, but I do read all of the comments, and I try to reply as much as I can. So I'd love to connect with you there. I'm also over on Instagram at Southern Ketovore, and we also have a private Facebook group as well for everybody on the proper human diet spectrum, guys. So everybody, regardless of where you sit with keto, ketovore, carnivore, low carb, all the things, everybody is welcome there. So I will have the link for that in the description below as well. All right. I will talk to you all soon. Thank you so much for tuning in. Love you, mean it.